Okay, so we got this interesting factor here, and it's a problem. I did these little pieces here before. They were uploaded and playing, but they were playing before they finished processing still. So they're still saying it we can't finish processing it, but the upload finished. It's got the video, it's processing it to SSD. The problem is the content, because the content takes a scenario, and I say the person that's doing this is the person is doing this. I took the Julie Sue scenario and I generic it, didn't necessarily mean to say Julie Sue until a later point in it. And I put it into colonial times. I used the numbers and I put it into colonial times and says, here's, these ratios, what's going on here. Look, she's blacklisted 1.2 million people, but she's paying all this money to immigrants coming into the country. And so I'm putting the visual understanding of what this looks like in colonial times. So it's blatantly obvious that what's going on back then, people take one look and say, this is treason. You don't abscond. You don't steal our money and turn around and start giving it to vast numbers of illegal aliens and blacklist us and make our businesses go broke. This is insane. What are you doing? What are you doing? Because see, here's the thing. Congress already authorized the money. She flat out stole it and blacklisted citizens. She's weaponized this and she's attacking candidates. She's attacking museums. She's attacking archives. She's committing literally crimes against humanity. There's no excuse for this. None whatsoever. Oh my God. So putting the setting into colonial times equates it to the original language understanding of those times, which would say she's involved in mass economic sabotage and an array of these crimes. She's committing treason, mandatory death penalty, mandatory death penalty. But the algorithms here are basically dealing with, we're being told, no, you can't, you can't do that. Yeah, I can do that. Why not? Yeah, I can do that. So I'm putting the actual equative understanding of what she's actually doing. They're trying to claim since it's a modern age, they're ignoring it. No, you don't ignore it. Prosecutors should instantly know it. So when I'm communicating with various parties, the AG's office, I'm a candidate with the Secretary of State's office, I'm a candidate, and they don't want to do their job. They flat out don't want to do their job. I'm also a petitioner, carry petitions, which means this is also attack upon a petitioner. That's another series of felonies right there. So and because I'm an omnibus, it's a museum, artifacts are involved, over 900 years old, one of a kind items, the only ones known in the whole world. And these people are attacking me. They're attacking the financial rug. They're attacking me. There's no excuse for this. We put this right back into colonial times and look at the base cogs of it. There is no possible explanation that they could give to justify what they're doing. They're in rebellion. They're straight out in rebellion. Let's take a look here and see what we can do. Respective to, well, these should be the files right here. We continue here. There were a lot of options. There were opportunities in America. But guess what? The deal may not quite have been what you thought. There were people who were black that had papers in other places in the world. Yeah, I've been working for 2 years on this guy's ship. I've got my own paper. Out of this madness, we're no longer interested in this area of craziness where there's no lands and opportunity. We want out of here. So you had a lot of people pulled the escape. They just wanted nothing to do with the creek. How many other people are going to be burned? See, now all of a sudden it's changed day. This is getting weird, right? So let's do this.
Thank you for supporting us. Dreams come true.
Everybody gotta have a dream.
Documentaries. Music made us feel like
We're going to talk about American history right now.
and TV shows.
We're going to do the deal. We're going to really talk about American history because it's important. Now, there's a lot of people out there, they don't necessarily understand what happened, what transpired. Now, it would be a good thing for you to spend a week, just kind of wasting your time.
These might be different ones,
I'm
actually.
serious. Just kind of wasting your time looking at different stuff. I'm serious. Go past the states, it was the colonies. You'll get a couple of pigs. You'll end up getting $500. You had slaves that went for 35.
Okay, where's the other one? That's not quite the ones I'm looking for. We got this one.
I just did 8 hours with an AI. Didn't work out so well. Was really working hard to come up with no idea way. I have European entity. I just did 8 hours with an AI. Didn't work out so well. Was really working hard. I'm going to go ahead and comment here on some of this insurance stuff, respecting the buyers.
Okay, it looks like, yeah, it's beginning to look like, some of the material that I made is no longer existing in the drive. I thought it was all uploaded, it all worked, and now it's not here, so I'll have to redo it. So this is something that is a bit of a problem. So we have to deal with going back to the various material and deal with it, deal with the various scenarios of what's going on respective to the situation. So we have a situation that deals with this material here, which is what I used. This deals with a huge thumbnail situation where basically we go through the story of the Julie Sue scenario of exactly what she did, and we're putting it in colonial times. We put this into colonial times, and it's a problem. It's a problem. You can't possibly explain your conduct when you blacklist people. You say, oh, well, there's 1.2 million people. We'll assign 4 investigators. Yeah, we'll just assign 4 investigators here. Yeah, we can do this. But, yeah, here's the thing, we're going to hire 16,000 people to help process non-English speaking non-citizens. So mathematically, what you're saying there is they've deliberately uh, increased the discrimination factor. You can just do the numbers there. Just do the numbers to figure that out. Four, how many times does four go into 16,000? Yeah, 8,000. Let me see. Half, that'd be 8,000. 4,000. So you're talking about a factor of discrimination of 4,000 times to 1. 4,000 times to 1. And some people said that she hired more and it was over 17,000. 4,000 to 1. So in other words, statistically, you're not just saying that we're reducing your priority to be less than a non-citizen. It's not just less than a non-citizen. It's 4,000 times less than a non-citizen. 4,000 times. That's treason. There is no possible way to equate it. None. You can't possibly be looking at a desk and be looking at numbers and not see that. It's impossible. There's no way that you can sit there and look at 4 investigators versus 16,000. It's not possible. So then we have this scenario, this situation involving this being done to candidates. This is something where we're at this level of discrimination, and it's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling how anyone could possibly look at these kinds of piles of documents in comparison to what these situations are. Handing out money to immigrants and all this other stuff, and blacklisting the citizens that Congress ordered monies to be made available to compensate them during the emergency. There's just no possible way. There's just no possible way to equate this stuff other than looking at these vast numbers. So yeah, you have a state of emergency and you start going through the story and you start seeing this stuff, and we've got this situation. So who's not doing their job at this point? Rob Bonta? Can you imagine? It says, yeah, I'm a candidate and I'm being blacklisted. And she's invented an equation that's 4,000 times to 1 in relation to making me not just less priority than a non-citizen, it's over 4,000 times, over 4,000 to 1 times. So we're going to discriminate against you, and somehow we're going to make it to where it's 4,000 to 1. So when you're using 3 phones and you're calling day after day, week after week, month after month to get through, and then you finally get through and it's like, oh, well, we have more people actually processing the first part of the claims, except there's no money. We're sorry, there's no money. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, let's check this, and you keep checking and you go, hey, hablo no English. Oh, yes, hello, we can help you. Yes. Oh, I heard you were out of money. Oh, no, we're not out of money. We got plenty of money. Oh, okay. And you listen, oh, great, let's process. And you get halfway, you start processing things. It's like, oh, wait a minute, you're a citizen of California. Well, yes. Oh, you were born here. Oh, well, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no more money for you right now. And then you get testimony from other people that are working at the EDD, and you're hearing the situation where people flat out tell me these different numbers. Some of it you can research, it was public, and other stuff, people told me stuff. I went around after interviewing people, finding ways to get through to people, and using different phones, and people told me stuff. Yeah, we don't agree with what they're doing. They've had money available. Money's been available nonstop apparently, for illegal aliens. But a California citizen, an actual born and raised California citizen, oh no, there's no money available for you. So we equate that, so then you're stuck in a line. Oh, well, you have 4 agents. It's only an emergency. It's just an emergency. We'll assign 4 whole people, 4 investigators for 1.2 million people. You're talking about a set of numbers that are mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Stay-at-home, shutdown orders. Same thing with all the businesses. All the gig work canceled. Fleet stranded. All the pre-scheduled, all the work for years, working along and having things moving along, struggling and being ready to do things. I didn't know anybody a dime. I didn't know a dime, and I was scheduled to do certain things, and then it's canceled for me. I was already negotiating. I had multiple real estate agents that I was negotiating with, for, what I was going to take for the season. One way or another, I was either going to pick it up from the auctions or pick it, and I was going to get a campus, get basically a campground up north, the property for it, and put a campus up there. And, all of a sudden, no, that's not going to happen. One of the seasonals is I'm a petitioner. So blacklisting a petitioner, that's a felony. Attacking a petitioner, that's a felony. Attacking a candidate, that's an articles violation. Yeah, that's an articles violation, attack upon a candidate's camp. And there's a whole bunch of attacks, just massive financial attacks against a candidate. An archiver, a museum, artifacts older than the Constitution of the United States, one-of-a-kind items. Got a Bible connected to Lewis and Clark and all this other different stuff. $300 million book collection. So I'm getting ready to do a campus museum, a remote campus museum where there's all this legal research and computers that are going to be there. There's a film archive. I did about 80,000 films. 80,000 titles. I would say, I think it was like 70,000 different titles. Then you had some duplicates in there of certain things. Some things were like way better. So some things I went out of my way to have 5 copies of. So I'm setting up all this stuff and to set up the nonprofit extra extension, even designing. How am I going to do it? I was designing extra funds so that there would be a tiny bit of money that would end up going into residual funds. So there would be something in residuals, that was part of what I was going to do. Opening the business, it would buy a membership. You can do this by the month or whatever, part of the campground or whatever. Buy it by the year, whatever. Oh, by the way, contribute here a little bit extra, and we'll buy extra movies, new titles, And by the way, over here we have a special fund for, basically to maintain perfect copies, and to also have people encouraged give consideration to older movies, So there's like the fandom thing, There's all this stuff I was going to set up with different websites and everything, and all gets destroyed. And then, I got my aspects of the science lab, the national security stuff, the super AI stuff, the super economic research, all this different stuff legal research, all kinds of legal research on cases. There's a bunch of people owing me money, just weird stuff happens. There was a chemical plant one time blowed up. Just chemicals, major setback. Chemicals on everything. That was a very bad situation. I couldn't get fire inventory money. It says, hey man, this is that your fire was not my fire. Okay, you have to pay whatever this fire inventory company. Here you go. I've taken bids. These are the cheapest, by the way. You have to pay them whatever they want because I don't have any money. I've been nuked. You've got everything's shut down. You have to pay the fire inventory. So here I have these other lawsuits, and then I end up in a situation again where I'm getting attacked from people in California, and it's long-term attacks from people in California. It's not a first rodeo type thing. We're talking an evolution of massive illegal activity in California. We just get to the point, we get into the point where you're at these Julie Sues and this other stuff. There's no possible way to equate it any other way. She'd only wanted to communicate with unions. These people don't want to communicate. Shirley Weber didn't want to communicate. Rob Bonta didn't want to communicate. So there's all this stuff, and I come under attack. Then violent attack, different kind of financial attack, then the violent attacks, cyber attacks, and it's and I'm a candidate. I'm running. I run for governor and I run for president, and these people are afraid. It's like these people are afraid, because the reality is the archives I'm building become more and more powerful. The civil rights. At one time, I was storing evidence that would have affected different people, like, I don't know, it's like maybe 170 people or something in LA, that they were owed money, certain categories they were owed money. It was the LA County would have owed more than $4 billion to these certain people. And it was going up. So again, all this evidence research gets destroyed. And there's all this other, different stuff that's happening. It's massive. It's massive, because there's problems with the court. The court doesn't do the right thing. You can't get the prosecutors don't do the right thing. You're talking about, it's a civil matter. How is violence? Since when is violence a civil matter? Since when is burglary on a campaign a civil matter? Since when is burglary on an archive a civil matter? Since when is burglary? The list just keeps going on. I can list over 3 million items, all basically in felony territory or worse. Some of them are out and out treason. So it's just this amazing thing that to deal with respective to what's going on, because we end up having these things of who's on the approved list or not the approved list. This is some really serious stuff. So when you're attacking candidates, you can't do that to people. You can't sit there and end up having a situation where you're doing mass blacklisting. So you put the scenario back into the thing, back into what it would look like percentage-wise if you place this Julie Sue's actions into colonial times. The definition is night and day. Mass economic sabotage, mandatory death penalty area. No doubt whatsoever about it. So I got to, I want to do, I don't have that much time, so I have to keep trying to rush this forward because there's all these different problems looking for the material that I originally came up with, so just, how everybody would have these concerns and what this, what this, would do, sit there, all of a sudden citizens have no priority, and it's 4,000 to 1 discrimination factor, so you end up seeing these percentages all over the place, on the web for all this different stuff, and you have these factors that are absolutely insane dealing with these different factors. And these people don't want to do their job. So I'm forced to declare panel rights and all this other stuff. I still have to deal with all these false narratives that these people have done. Mind-boggling. Not once have these people prosecuted anyone. I mean, the archiver, when I would interview people, some people, we archive some stuff for them, okay? And the deal is pretty much the vast majority of people is, yeah, if somebody attacks the archiver or the archive or whatever, yeah, that's a mandatory prosecute them. So you inform the government, look, our policy is mandatory prosecution. Yeah, national security is involved. It's a mandatory prosecution policy. And they're like, we don't give a flying F. Yeah, you can't aid and abet your own people. Oh, well, it's a conflict of interest because we have to defend them. No, the AG's office is a conflict. You can't sit there and say you're supposed to be the champion of the people and then disenfranchise all of them and say, yeah, no, you're not going to protect candidates? You're not going to protect the Constitution? You're not going to protect national security? You're not going to protect the voters? Elections, you're going to allow these people who blatantly, you're not going to prosecute them? Oh, well, it's a conflict. Well, we have to defend them. No, the contract says that they signed, said that with the job says that they would have monies given to guarantee that they would have legal counsel. You don't, it's a conflict of interest for you. You're supposed to be a prosecutor. So this is what's wrong with the AG's office of California. And in fact, it's not. See, here's the thing. You inform them, says, that's not legal. Oh, yeah, it's legal. No. You don't understand. That is unconstitutional position. You cannot abandon your oath to the Constitution of the United States and the process of election because you think that 1, 2, or maybe 3 of your people need to be defended, and they might even be spies. I mean, what if they're spies? They might even be spies. So you would stop any emergency compensation. You're not going to help. We have an archive. I mean, once again, here's a scenario. Here's the analogy. Yeah, the Library of Alexandria is on fire, Mr. AG. We need water and we need finances and emergency management budgets right now. Not 6 weeks later. There's a fire right now. And, there's the attitude of, well, let it burn. And it's like, it's national security information as well as included in here. It also has candidate and campaign information. I mean, wow, so financial blacklisting right here, this has to be removed. What is this? And this is what these people have done. It's so simple. So yeah, we don't have a legitimate election right now. We don't. It can't be legit because of the stuff that's happening. It's just simply not possible, because we have all these other things to consider about how different things work. So one of the things that's crucially important as well is to understand other examples of things. See, because we got crucial other examples that are of key importance respective to different stuff. So you get to other things when you're looking at the web. So you have the state, both the Biden administration and the state of California are doing algorithmic isolation. They're blacklisting. I've been notified by other parties that they're blacklisting. Twice from Elon Musk. Says, well, we've been ordered to spy on you, and the way I read the understanding changed the algorithmic things. And I'm a candidate. So, yeah, so it's, so these, basically the Elon Musk office is saying, we're not going to lie for these people. We don't agree with what they're doing, but they have a gun. They're sticking a gun in our face. We have to do this. So here it is, straight out, and there's 4 major catches here, Google twice, X.com twice, There's other ones as well. So now we look at the understanding here. Here we go. We got internet, right? The free and unimpeded passing of access to the internet. Let me give you an example. This is kind of early. We haven't got through this thing just yet, but you see this here. The word UFO is utilized. UFO and orbs footage. New orbs. Okay, so anybody that would be typing UFOs, you have easily 30,000 people a day, sometimes more, typing and looking for the newest UFO anything, and it would populate on a list. Okay, and they ask things different way. They're always looking for new information. So the idea that something like this is not getting populated onto a master list because somebody's typing, that's impossible unless blacklisting's going on. Absolutely impossible. Yeah, 30,000 people a day are typing to see what other people have. And the free and unimpeded flow of the web is the rule of law. So, and Google's lost in court many times over this. But we also have the algorithmic isolation orders out of the state of California, too. So here we go. So in other words, here is something put out, and we'll keep monitoring that and showing that. And I'm going to show you how it's mathematically impossible for that to occur. So what did we have with the ratio factor with Julie Sue? 4,000 to 1. In other words, we're going to declare that you have less priority than a non-citizen because we're hiring over 16,000 people to process Hablo no English and no citizenship, no paperwork, no nothing, versus you and we have 1.2 million people that are complaining that they were, supposed to get paid, which keep in mind, these people's names appeared on a list. There were multiple lists, actually, that were submitted to the federal government with basically saying, yeah, Congress has ordered that there's compensation money for people who are applying. Here's the list. And that's where the money's coming from. So she's stealing the money that Congress ordered to be given to the people who are the citizens. And she's weaponizing it. She's also attacking me, a candidate. She's attacking me, a petitioner, all these other things, major violations, and she won't communicate. She just will not communicate with businesses or with, she has no continuity of elections, no continuity of government. She just will not do it. Rob Bonta, Shirley Weber, they'll communicate mildly and say, we don't, basically in a nutshell, we don't give a flying F. Your archive's on fire. Yeah, let it burn. The fire was set by one of your own people. One of your own people set this, So this whole thing is engineered that you're trying to get in line and get taken care of. But the ratio is as though it's 4,000 to 1. 4,000 to 1. Which means your priority is you're less than a non-citizen, and in addition, it's over 4,000 to 1 times against you more. So this is the kind of stuff you see happening in these different type of items, like what gets priority versus, what all this other stuff. So you have all this other stuff you can look at. You get to these certain points where you're not seeing view numbers. Now, sometimes different explanations, but you have some areas where people are typing this. It should be going on, candidate not populating, a candidate before elections not populating, who was there before, all this neat stuff. And you get to the certain point where you're looking at certain things that are of key importance. And then you get to these points. This is after it ran down, 258. We go over here, 794. We go over here, 1.2K. Okay, if we go back up over here on the test pattern, that one's 811. Over here is 1.4K. Okay, so the priority list on this stuff is pretty rough.
We intentionally ran him over.
What agency?
Kern County Sheriff's Office. We intentionally ran him over.
Okay, so there's different versions of that that respectively are different lengths. But, the thing is you still have these certain lengths that are of a substantial length. You keep recording it again and again, and it's still,
Kern County Sheriff's Office. We intentionally ran him over.
So you're seeing this again and again and again, respective to the situations on stuff. And so here you have the juggled around priority. So yet again, it's like the Julie Sue thing. You're being discriminated against in a multiplier factor. So
Boudreaux also revealing tonight
1181.
18 handguns registered to him, but not the rifle that was used in this fatal shooting. So they're still working to figure out how exactly he got that.
So
What happened?
At Catherine Bryan, after over a 7-hour standoff, pieces of equipment from out agencies across this area continue to come back now. And the Southern County Sheriff's Office, again, tonight.
So this is rating either more positive or negative. These rate higher than Chad Bianco. Chad Bianco puts out a video. It doesn't come out as high as these. There's certain other people that their faces get higher. They automatically give them more. They give them higher.
We intentionally ran him over.
The man suspected of killing the Tulare County Sheriff's deputy today is dead. The Tulare County Sheriff Mike Boudreaux says that 59-year-old David Morales was run over by a Kern County law enforcement Bearcat.
We intentionally ran him over.
Yeah, the guy was doing something pretty stupid.
Kern County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
Don't shoot at cops. You shoot at cops, we're going to run you over.
I mean, yeah, that'd be pretty dumb. I mean, yeah, that can happen. So would you run him over? He was shooting at me, so. But see, the point is the way that the priorities work with the system, because when you're seeing these other items, this. So like
you're a loser.
No zone attack map.
Damn, you're a loser.
This explains how people manipulate the stock market.
Damn, you're a loser.
With cyber attacks.
Damn, you're a loser.
Almost nobody wants to talk about null zone science. So and this the way this works. So you're disclosing stuff to people and explaining stuff about how stuff works. 13. Virtually nobody is paying attention to the material. Historical items.
I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on. I'm going to give an update here on the Stewart Asset Engine. And I want to talk about several things, and they're really important because some people don't necessarily like certain things. Now, this has 71 views. So the interesting thing here is that we have 1.2K views. There's 1,260 views.
I'm talking
for that.
over there
People
on
find that interesting. So here we go for a ride because there's one.
So it's all this stuff here talking about stuff. I'm going to talk about things that Weber did wrong.
There's no valid election currently going on in the state of California.
So what's happening? The algorithms are discriminating against the truth. deliberately. And they're also discriminating against anyone who's trying to reveal the truth concerning people committing crimes that might be a government employee, which means they're not just taking an advantage. We're seeing brand new statistics that were never in existence before. Brand new options, and people don't understand. They're being deliberately trapped into false narratives. This is treason. The intent of parties in government to intentionally electronically kidnap people and force them into false narrative situations is treason. This is way beyond just, they're interfering with the free flow of information. No, these people are committing coups. They're committing coups. They're overthrowing government, and they're busted red-handed. So you have all these different things that are highly important. Like I might want to talk right here.
Kids, we have to teach kids how to use this demographic software. Now, what we're teaching kids right here is in yellow. You have the O's,
economic criminology,
and it's a certain regulated reading. So we're getting them on board with understanding the basic color scheme.
Basically, if you run certain things certain ways, respective to economics, you're gonna not just exert control on people, you're gonna be killing people. The fiscal impact is going to cause more deaths to occur. So you're talking about literally genocide, crimes against humanity. And this is what we're seeing here in California, crimes against humanity. And people are noticing it. They're just like, this is just insane. This can't continue. And, so you have these insane policies, like, they're like, we have to come up with more money again. More money. Why? First they say, we had record monies. Yeah, you did. Oh, yeah, we had record monies. You had a surplus. Oh, really? Okay, then why do you want to raise the average person's rent by $1,200 a month with the new taxes? What are these people doing? And then you have people, I have people shooting at me. This is not a game. So when we're bringing this stuff out,
Governor, hey, 9 out of 10 elementary students equate the mathematics and see it my way. Check in on my next video, please.
I'm doing everything to try to make things more exciting, so to speak, that way. So, I can try to keep people interested in stuff. My policies on, for making your labor guaranteed bankable again, like it was in the beginning of the country. So it's a land company. The government can't own land. Okay, they're temporary employees. We're the people. We're the stockholders. It's a republic. Yeah, and the promise that for us to have a stock turn, that hasn't happened yet. I'd take care of that immediately. But the implied understanding that you would invest in a company and it would acquire vast amounts of assets, and then they turn around and say, we're going to kind of keep all the assets and the control, and basically you get zero. Look at 92% of the population. It's been decided y'all get zero. All the, the Louisiana land purchase, all these great land purchases, we're just going to control it, and they're going to blatantly lie and say, it's the people's land. Well, the government can't own it. We're the stockholders. Where's our stock? Where's our collective stock? Again and again, I can show all these things in specialized historic history on the different things. And what happens in these archives, the research, these people are destroying heritage. They're destroying ultra-rare documents. They're destroying artifacts older than the Constitution of the United States. This is just absolute insanity of what these people keep involving themselves in. And then you have the quantifying understandings. Eventually in court, these people have been losing over harassing people over old cars. Why? They're ascending assets. 31 years in a row, they're ascending assets. But they're trying, but it's junk. It's a problem. You got to get rid of it. No, it's not. It's an ascending asset. It can't be an ascending asset
by law to withdraw.
and junk at the same
I
time.
have to see that these parties get prosecuted.
Does not compute. And then there's more to that. We find out that all the stuff is a scam about the narratives that they put out concerning the poison, so to speak. Because with cars, you got all these things with cars. If you're gonna basically do things with cars, and basically,
You're with Michael Crosby.
when you destroy a car, it gets
I'm
burned.
still trying to get those
The
matters
upholstery,
involving
the dashboard,
articles,
all the
violations, and
plastics.
attacks upon
It
my
creates
campaign
way
by state
more types of
entities.
chemicals
But I want to talk
than
to
what
you
that
a little
vehicle
bit
normally
about
would have been
more
putting out.
about
So
what
when you
happened
burn
in
a
the
car up
past. Now, we've
to
done some
to
intensive
basically
analytics
salvage
on
it,
this, and you won't
you're
believe
creating
how
more.
much money
It's just as far as the
people
volume
lost in
goes,
this
just as
country.
far as
This is
the
a
volume
countrywide statistic, but I'm
of
gonna tell you
pollution,
that
more
the
than
majority
10 times the
of these
amount
statistics
of
actually
pollution that the
come out of
vehicle would have
California.
actually ended up
And they're a little hard to
putting
work
out
with. They're very
over the course
large.
of 10
Now,
years.
basically, what's been
Plus,
happening
the chemicals
is
that are being put out are
people
nasty.
lie.
Things like,
People lie to you about
cyanide,
your assets. They
all kinds of nasty
deliberately
stuff.
took
And so, in other
foreign
words, they're lying
entities,
about the quantitative values
ideas, and
of all this other factors involving
basically
the
plans
truth
of attacks.
about the
And they
actual
implemented it.
emissions that
They
are created
deliberately lie
when they
year
are
after
basically
year to you as you have
getting
sending assets.
converting a vehicle.
Your
These are absolutes.
vehicles,
These are
solid
definitive
vehicles were
absolutes.
sending
And when you
assets.
look at all
And
the
they
other
lied to
reports,
you
and
year
they're
after
going,
year
oh, well,
after year.
we're taking
And they
this
made
much stuff away from the road.
excuses, and
They're
they
not
would
telling
lie
you
after
how
lie
much
after
extra
lie after lie.
that they're actually
When
creating.
you destroy a vehicle,
They leave
you
those
have to
statistics
basically
out of the
burn
reports.
it
It's
up.
missing.
That creates the
It's
amount of
blatantly
pollution
missing in most
of
reports that
that
I've
vehicle
ever seen. It's
staying
not
on the
in there.
road in its normal
It's like, how can you do that?
operating
And then
activities.
and then there's the emission credit thing. They
Well,
turn
here's
that
the
into a
numbers, people.
scam.
10
So
years, 10
here you
years
have
worth of volume
quantitative
of
information, 100%.
basically
He's okay. Well,
chemical
where are
toxins,
how much is
occur
created
when you destroy
when
that
you
vehicle.
burn all these cars?
10 years worth.
Oh,
So
yeah, we
what
don't look at
happened
it
is
that
they-
way.
they
Okay, look,
lied
these
about
people are
throwing all these
liars.
extra
This
emissions
is all a
into
scam.
the atmosphere.
Every word they've
And
said
they're
is a
very
lie.
tricky in the way they did it.
They
did some
take people.
really
They call your car
scammy
junk, and
stuff,
it's an
I'm
ascending
telling you.
asset.
And they
Ascending.
lied.
So
They
this is
lied.
now the
Now,
thing
it's
is
also
they're
important to
using
understand that
these
when you destroy a
laws,
vehicle, you get
which were
more
actually created. They go all the way
types of
back to the
chemicals
Royal
that just
German
would
Empire.
normally come out to the other
Taxing
kind.
people's
You end up getting
horses,
cyanides.
taxing people's
You end up getting
wagons,
these
right on into
thousands
World War
of
II.
types
They were invented by the
custom
Royal German Empire and handed out
chemicals that
to
would not
basically
go into the environment.
communism and socialism.
These
The Germans
are
they paid
far more
for
dangerous to
having
apply.
Lenin
Literally,
go to
we're
Russia to
currently tracking
destabilize it.
statistics. We
And the
actually
occupational
see a
governance
relationship
design
between
policies were invented by the
increase
Royal German Empire.
in cancer
Karl Marx
in
was literally
California,
a spy on the
but it's
payroll
connected to
of the Royal
forced
German
burning
Empire.
of
So when you
people's
have these people
cars, their interiors,
going to
their
these
dashboards,
communist
the
lectures and
plastics,
retrieving
your
more and more information all the
Mike
time,
Crosby.
and they're constantly bringing
Yes,
European
I'm still trying to get those
instrument
matters resolved involving
designs into
articles,
governance
violations,
that
and
diabolically
attacks upon my
oppose the
campaign by
Constitution of the United
state
States.
entities. But I want to talk to you a little bit.
They are major
about
constitutional
more
violations. They're
about
treason.
what happened in the past.
They're literally
Now,
treason. So
we've done
as
some
the
analytics on
mass
this, and you won't
quantification
believe how much money
economic
people have lost
mass
in this
modeling
country.
engine
Now, there's some
comes
countrywide
into
statistics,
being,
but I'm going to tell you
economic
that the
criminology is
majority
part of it,
of these
to show
statistics
exactly the
actually
mindset that these people
come
are
out of
doing
California.
and how they're criminals.
And they're a little
It becomes a
hard work, but they're
100%
very
quantitative
large.
reality
Now, basically
that's
what's been
inescapable.
happening is people have lied.
People
lie
And
to
so what do they
you
do? They keep
about
attacking the
your
archives.
assets.
They don't want me to finish that research.
deliberately
They don't want me to
took
bring those
foreign
computers online.
entities,
These people again and again and again keep having
ideas, and
a reason, a motive
basically
to attack
plans of attacks
because
And they
they're
implement
trying to keep and take power
They
illegally,
deliberately lie
and
year
they are
after
not
year
loyal to the
you
Constitution of the United
as you
States.
have sending
They're not loyal.
assets.
They don't stand a
Your
chance in trial
vehicles, solid
if I have the
vehicles are
archive with
sending
me.
assets.
I will
And
tear
they
them
lie to
apart,
you
literally tear them
year
apart,
after year after year.
because
And
they
made
can't quantify their arguments in any
excuses,
way.
and they would lie
All they can
after
do is bow their
lie
neck and
after
say,
lie after
we just don't see it that way. We're just going to do it this way.
A vehicle, you have to
So there's no
that creates
logic. They can't properly quantify it that way. So
on the road, and it's normal.
So this fleet, 34 vehicles, ends up getting all screwed up. So I was going to have 12 RVs starting out for the gubernatorial election on the freeways in LA. You can equate that out. That's definitely more than one person. One people. It's probably more. AI estimated about 1 million people a day. If I was running it on a 2-shift basis, 16 hours a day. 1 million people a day. So I'm not getting the possibility of 1 million people a day seeing my gubernatorial campaign going against Newsom to begin with. Because he's in partnership ordering everybody's business, including mine, shut down. But he's not shut down, and he's getting massive money. But Julie Sue, who he's appointed, is attacking people left and right. Mass attacks. We just covered some of the scales of those. They're mind-boggling.
And now what we got here, this is the California. Okay, we're jumping over here to PBS. And now what we got here, this.
So there's all these other factors involving things, that deal with stuff. I've got all of these different websites. .coms and whatnot. Some of them are worth a lot of. We used to be worth a lot of money, still are, I would say. So, I was going to fire up all these specialized sites to deal with fire problems and all this other super economics stuff. And again, these people, it's absolutely insane what they've done. Massive attack on archives, mobile archive units. One of them was set up at 4-mile total circumference range, 2 miles on either side, front or rear. It's about the most powerful mobile Wi-Fi that I've ever heard of. And it's an industrial unit. It was the biggest that was allowed at the time that I could get a hold of. And other units were, a half mile or quarter mile. So to get this going and get the AI system going, that is not woke. It's the AI system that has, today's AIs, you can't type get an accurate copy of the Constitution of the United States. Verbatim. It wants to give you something annotated. No, you want the original because there's a translation problem. There are problems all the time about these annotated copies. They don't translate the true depth of the original words that were utilized because they meant something different, by the way, back then. Like welfare. Welfare back then meant financial wellness and literally having a super duper environment available where it's constantly being promoted like it's a fairground event. Laissez-faire and all this other stuff. So welfare meant a lot more. It meant more than just the fairness of your financial well-being. There's other things. And there's all this other stuff that they're leaving out constitutionally, and they want to keep lying about it. So guys like me are building archives that would have all this information and be able to convey all this information to people because it doesn't exist in the school system anymore. They're going to spend $480,000, 13 years of schooling, and they have a 56% burger flipping rate. Welcome to Los Angeles. Colonial times, 1750, 38 years of longevity versus today's 78-year longevity, 38 years. And you'd be learning carpentry at age 12, build your first house at age 15, unless you were immigrant. So if you were a continuing citizen here. And basically your carpentry skills would be bankable labor because you could trade that house. It's considered real estate, hard value. That's the original value that our forefathers were laying out to begin with. And, so the revolution was fought to stop Britain from doing appraisals on our development. And then they would print currency, do currency blocks. And then they use those currency blocks. They would go buy that currency. They'd go buy products and ship around and sell them worldwide to get a hold of copper and silver, a little bit of gold, and put it into their treasury. So we wanted to cut that all out. You have to, it was the first thing that, those meetings were pretty serious. To say, yeah, we're going to have a revolution here. We're going to cut out the Brits. And so it says the king will kill you, and as people go, look, we got a lot to lose. We got land, we got estates. Some of you don't have quite as much to lose. You could just grab some tools and a wagon and you could head off back out in the far woods, and the British would never find you or pursue you. But, we would be walking away from a lot if we couldn't pull this off. So the deal is we all get treasury. We're building a treasury. We all get access, for unlimited access to the treasury for the purpose of building a new hard assets, because then that gives us everything we need to basically justify stable currency continuously being made. That's the original structure of our system that many people have forgotten. So there's problems with it. There was a lot of bribery in there and stuff. So, as we have these people continuously, communism, we fought two great wars with World German Empire. These are illegal items to bring these illegally designed instruments of governance, because they're designed to deliberately destabilize economics. That's what they're designed to do. They're control and they're designed to destabilize. This is on purpose. So when you see these people utilizing these, these people are committing what's known as mass economic sabotage. That's treason, punishable by the death penalty. So you always, we have to deal with tax. Taxes were only for wartime emergencies. There's all these ways to do stimulus programs. They're not doing any stimulus programs. All they want to constantly do is run around and steal money from people, and they don't care how much carnage they're making. They don't care about the damage, and we're now surrounded by death tolls that are mind-boggling. We're surrounded by crime, like it's crimes against humanity. And a lot of these homeless people, you can't see them. They're trying to hide. They're scared to death. The ones with brains are scared to death. The ones that have got their brains burned out for them or whatever, they might be someone's medical experiment. Who knows? Or they did it to themselves. A lot of them did that. But, the thing is we have to do something.